Alright, I'm gonna come out and say it right at the beginning. Honestly, Ilford HP5 is probably one of the best film stocks I've shot. And at least as it comes with black and white, like it's just amazing. The first time I shot this was a couple weeks ago now. Me and my friend Andrew went out to downtown Raleigh to do some night photography, and I couldn't be bothered to pay for developing, so this time I did black and white instead of Cinestill. And honestly, the results could not have come out any better. Like, I'm shocked at how consistent this film stock is for not having used it before. This was the beginning of the cold weather we've been having, so consistently I was not only fighting my camera to work correctly, but also the minus whatever wind chill that was slowly turning my fingers to sludge. But I managed to find a parking garage in downtown Raleigh and load up my camera just fine, and then we hit the streets. I was using my Mamiya RB67, and Andrew was using the absolute tank of a camera that is the Pentax 6x7. Usually the first shot in your roll is one you just kind of get out of the way to get the blood flowing in your hands and your mind. But honestly, this first shot turned out unbelievably. On its own, it's just a simple street shot, but I lucked out and got these two people walking by right when I took the picture, and it's unbelievable. It's amazing. I love it. They add a sense of scale to the picture and a sense of character while also remaining completely anonymous, given the fact that I'm shooting at close to half, if not 1 second per shot. I love this picture. God damn, this has got a lot of fucking detail. Oh my god. Damn. This is cool. The second picture on this roll is actually the inside of that same building you just saw. Pulled up next to a window that Andrew was shooting on his own, and shot the opposite side of the wall and was able to find a really nice composition with the door framing the inside of the building. And I love how it's mostly empty, but there's just some signs of progress with the mop bucket and all the construction stuff that's sitting inside, because it's just really cool. I wish there was a little bit more detail in the foreground. It is very dark, but also I can't really complain too much because the inside is exposed perfectly. So all in all, this is another great picture. I wanted to go back to the Mecca restaurant downtown and try and take some good pictures of the sign that's on the building. However, once I was there, I couldn't really get a good angle. So I decided to take a picture of the front of the restaurant instead. And it's not my favorite picture on the roll. It's honestly kind of simple, but I like the details. And the Christmas decorations, now that it's December, are reasonable, even though this was shot in mid-November before Thanksgiving. So it was an interesting sight to see how fast this stuff goes up at this time of year. It's a thing. This next shot wouldn't have happened if I wasn't with Andrew, because I am inherently not a social person, especially when it comes to people I don't know. But Andrew struck up a conversation with these two police officers that were outside the bus station, and he's like, "Hey, can we take you guys a picture?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, man, whatever, go for it." And I like it. I really like it. It's wasn't my first portrait I've ever taken, but it's a type of photo I rarely use, rarely do. So having it turn out really nice is great. I love how the lighting from the outside is creating these really nice straight lines that go across the back wall. It just gives a lot of texture to the image, which I really like. I'm like a fly, honestly. Like, I'm attracted to anything bright and shiny. So when I saw this storefront, which is a barber shop, I knew I just had to take a picture of it. And this one took me a bit to frame up. Originally I was a bit farther back, but I realized that this shot works best as a more up close and personal kind of thing. And I'm super glad I did, because it frames the window really well with the sign, but you also get the reverse side reflection. And it's cool. It's nice. You can't really see much into, well, I mean, I guess you kind of can. That wasn't my intention in being able to look inside the building, but if you look closely, it definitely is there, which is definitely aided by how sharp this film stock is. Even shooting this at nighttime, I'm seeing absolutely zero grain, even if I'm zooming super far in, which is just amazing. I wanted to get a shot of Andrew taking a picture of whatever, and I didn't have enough time in the moment to properly set up my tripod. Also, it was kind of like an awkward area where we were at. So instead, I propped up my tripod on just a little stick, pretty much. It was a monopod. It took the picture, but when I compressed the shutter, I realized that 1 second is a really long time to be holding completely still. So this picture inherently has some shake to it, but it's just barely there. Like, I was still for long enough to where you got some good definition in the body, and just enough shake to have motion. This little coffee shop is adorable. I lucked out in that, once again, it was a busy night and there was this guy inside the building, and when I took the shot, he just so happened to be perfectly in the window. So it adds texture, it adds scale, and given the sharpness of this film stock, you can zoom in all the way back here and see the coffee grinders that are sitting on top of the counter, which is just awesome. On the way back, before going to a separate part of town, there was this plant shop that I had saw when first getting out of the car, but I wanted to save it in case I had some leftover shots at the end. And I also have been trying to do more stuff with intentional depth of field, more shallow, because I usually sit around f11, f16 where everything's in focus. But I'm really glad I did for this photo, because it adds, I mean, I'm literally looking into a window, but it really feels like you're looking through like a little peephole into this shop. And this little white card right here is really nice because it adds a focal point in the center of the room, which is where I want your eyes to be drawn. And it's just a little bit of white in the mostly darker setting of the shop, but it's great. And I'm looking back at this right now when I'm recording this, and I keep picking out details that I didn't even realize the first couple times looking at these pictures, like the ladders on the pillar in the background. It's great. It looks like I'm looking into a barn, and honestly, this is good shit. Like, I'm highly proud of these pictures. I don't know what it is about loading docks that I find interesting. This was at the point, like I said, where I needed one more picture to finish the roll. And I saw this loading dock, but I thought it had a really interesting composition, mainly with the palettes that are on the center, that are in center frame. little signs everywhere and stuff like that, and even down to the parking spots up front. Like, there's a little bit of error in my scanning process that are causing a little bit of fogging on the lower left side, but besides that, this picture is crystal clear and it's nice. I wish I could have gotten a picture of, I know it would add to, if there was some dude smoking a cigarette standing around the middle of this picture, that would be so cool. But then he would probably yell at me for being near private property and to stop taking pictures. So, I mean, you know, I got what I got, but it's all right. You know, there's always something that can add more to your pictures that just isn't there at the time. But all in all, this is a great shot, and it finishes the roll. Overall, like, for a first-time use of this film stock, I think this is going to be the stock that I use for a long time for black and white. I haven't tried any of Ilford's Kentmere line, which is a more budget film stock, and given the recent impending increase in film prices, that's something that I might look into. But HP5 is a staple. It's going to stay a staple, and I think that there's nothing bad to say about this film stock. Like, it's a perfect black and white film stock, and I highly recommend going and picking one up if you have the time or are into film photography. Who am I talking to? Besides that, be cool, enjoy the world, and take good pictures. Yeah.